In this video, we're going to talk about APIs and AppGyver. You must have heard people around you using the word API and wondered exactly what is it. Don't worry, that's what you're going to learn in this video. In basic terms, APIs just allow applications to communicate with one another. It is the code that governs the access points for the server. An API is not confused with a database. It is an access point to an app, but why do we need APIs? APIs can really extend your app's functionality in major ways. You can add a map, weather, other information can be incredibly useful. How is an API different than from a normal website? It doesn't contain all the HTML, CSS, all the JavaScript which you see known on the page. It's not meant to be accessed by a human. It's more to be accessed by a computer. When you hear about APIs, we always talk about JSON, and where do we actually use JSON for? JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notification and basically is a way to representing data that looks like JavaScript objects. Let's look at a typical JavaScript object for a person, which might look a bit like this. You have a data, an ID, an email, first name, last name, and avatar. These are what we call keys on the left. On the right, you see the values. 7, Michael Lawson at request.in, Michael Lawson, and an image. The values on the left stay always the same. Those are the keys. The value on the right changes every time. So in a person, you will have a different ID for a person, but you also have different first name, different last name, etc., etc. So it's just an easy way to represent data. It's easy to read. It's lightweight. So let me tell you how a API works. We have the client, in this case is an AppGyver app, which makes connection with a server where the API is hosted on. The API then calls, for example, a database, information retrieved from the database, and sent back to the client. In the rest of the video, I will show you how I build a simple app which is connected to a test API. I will go to the steps in how to connect. Let's do this. Let's start building the app. So let's start building the app then, and it's going to be really simple today. Nothing really fancy. So I will have a list of users. And I will use a standard component for this. It's a list item, and that's the first screen. And then we'll just have to name it quickly. We name the page, so this is the main screen. And then I have a second screen, and the second screen is detailed screen. Which has one container, a main container, in there we would have a image, so a image with a style which will be a circle. So we use the circle, so we go to shape, full round. We just need to make the circle exact size, so we do 160 by 160. We align the whole thing in the middle. We include the title, and the title we're gonna put in the center. The title would be person name. And then we have one more, which is a container. And this is email. And we have a icon. And we would use the envelope. And we will use again a title. We will lay out horizontal. We'll align them in the middle. And then first thing we do is to position and refit it. And then we take the whole thing and we align it in the middle. Just need to change the style. I want it to be smaller, so this will be the email address. So info@email.com. We do a bit of layout. We add something. Okay. So the person looks okay. Let's put a bit in there, 28, and then we make this one also a bit higher. Let's actually, so really simple person name. Let's make that person name a small bit bigger, and let's make the picture also a little bit more. 80 by 180. Okay, so simple app. We'll save this one. We quickly go back to the detailed screen, to the overview screen. And when we click on this, when we click on the list item, we will then open the screen. So when we open screen, we will go to the next screen. We only have one. And we use the standard navigation to go back and forward, so that's easy. So the only thing we'd like to do is to add a parameter to the detailed screen, and we do that through variables. Page parameters, we add one more, which is called ID. We don't have an example, it will be 1, 2, 3. Can I use text, so we'll save that one. And I think that's it. So let's now start creating the connection with the API. We go to data, we create resource. So which API are we going to use? We're going to use one which is called request.en. It's a hosted REST API ready to respond to Ajax. So actually it's fake data, but it's really good to I can show you how this exactly works, and you get real entry back. It doesn't store anything, but it still gets some information back, so it's really good for testing. So I will be using list and single users. So let's do the single user first. So how would it work? I would call this particular URL API, and I get a JSON back with all this information in there. So let's start implementing this then. So let's copy and paste, and I'll show you how this works. So first I have to give it a name. I call it users. A list of users. Then this is the main API. So that's the base. Now the base is this. and then we'll build every time on top of that. So then I go to get collections, and I want to get a list of users. So as you can see here, I take now this bit, list of users. So if you can see here, list of users. The page 2 is page numbering. So I'm going to take that number 2 or number 1, whatever I want to put in there. So let's do that. So that's users, as I said. So which item in the JSON, which key do I want to get? I want to get the list of all the users. And then where is that? That's stored in data. So I enter here data. I also have a query parameter of page, so I can enter that here. It's called page. The key is also called page. It's a number, and it's the page number. And let's take page number 1. So let's start testing this. And there we go. I have now a list of users. From this, I can automatically create a schema, which is the great thing about AppGyver. So you can or do it manually, or I can set the schema for my response. So let's do that. And then it automatically builds it. I have a web URL. I can change this one. Now I go to the main page, and I first need to add a data variable to my page, which links back to the data resource or the API I have created. So how do I do that? It's a specific one. It's called data variable. I click add, and I see the one I've created. I click on this. I want to have the collection of the thing. I want to have the whole collection, which is called users, which to me, I'm just going to take users collection just to make it clear. And I'll save that one. I just want to remove delay because I don't want to use that bit. I don't want to go back and anything goes wrong, continues like looping. That's not what I want. And now I go back to my view, and then I select, and I'm going to repeat my item. So I repeat it. What I'm going to read? I'm going to repeat my data variable list, which I have here. And now I'm going to set the primary label. I'm going to use a formula for this because I want to have the first name and last name. So I'll take the first name. I do space plus, in this case, it's again data variable, current variable, and I do then last name. So it creates me a list, last name, first name, and I save. And that's the example. There you can see. And then this label you see here, I want to translate it to more. And I would like to send, I have this parameter I want to add. This parameter is going to be the ID, which you can see here is a number, which is not correct. So what can I do? I can make a formula. I do string. So I convert it into a string, and I use the ID. So what I've done, I just convert into a number. Oh, I convert a string into a number. That's it. And now I press save. Now just look at the app, and you can see now I have a list of what I got from the API. And now I can click. It doesn't really do yet. I can also go back. So let's just now create this detail page, how I would do that. So again, let's go back to data, and let's go back to our data resource, data configurator data resource. And I'm going to go, instead of we have done with all of them, we're now going to do a record specific. So you can see, So if I go back to get single record, which is here. So how does this work? I have this user still, only it is now /2, and I get again the data I get the similar kind of way. So let's go back and copy and paste this. You can see it's only one now, so let's just do exactly the same we did. So what you can see here is I'm going to replace the ID with user. I can still pick it up from data. It's exactly the same. And as you can see now, I have this ID now, and this ID I would use to put the number 2 in. So let's test this. I think this is number, check which one this is. This is ID number 2. So let's check ID number 2. We run the test and there you go. You have now got all these values I get now. So this works perfectly, and let's press save. So now let's get that data into the page. We do exactly the same thing. We go to variable, data variable, add data variable, users, and now you can see this single record is now there, and the ID is there. So we use the same thing. So we're gonna now convert back to number. What we're gonna convert, the page parameters. So we confirm this back into a number. So that's back to number. And now we're going to start filling this one up. So this is the picture. We'll take the data variable, user ID. We'll take the avatar. See, that's it. We'll save that one. The person's name. So again, we use a formula. It's now data variable, first name. Plus space plus data variable last name. Then for the email, so data variable user email, so that's the email. Like to do one thing, and when I click on here, I would like to open my email box so I can send an email. So how would I do that? So I click here. When I click, then I have this is a big component called open URL, which I can install, which I can use. And what I can do here now is to create a formula which says mail to. And then if I put my email address, so data variable email address, mail, and I press save, this will then open up my default email client. Let's have a see if this works. Let's look at my phone now. I have my list of users. If I now click any of them, I can see now George Blunt and see a picture. But if I take the last one, Eve Holt, I can see, and all of them have their own kind of like Emma Wong, and it nicely updates. And then as the bonus, when I click on the email address, it then opens my email account. All right. Thank you all for watching this video. It's a bit shorter than normally. I want to explain a bit more about an API and a JSON, so it gives you a bit more idea how that works, because I use it quite a bit in my tutorials. So hopefully it was helpful to you. Hope you learned something from it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click on the like button if you like it. And if you want to see more of these videos, click the join button. The only thing I want to say now is stay curious and see you in the next time.